Morning pages is something that I picked up last year, at the end of last year. I wanted to try out a form of journaling because I knew I wanted journaling to be one of my 2020 goals. I started reading this book, which is called The Artist's Way. One of the nuggets that I picked out from this book that I wanted to implement right away was morning pages. So I started my morning pages practice not really knowing what to expect or whether I would continue with it on December 24th of 2019, and I'm still doing the practice daily to this day. We are at the end of April, so it's been 4 months that I've been doing daily morning pages, and this practice has completely changed my outlook on life, the way I handle stress, and we'll get into all of the great benefits that I've seen from this practice. The Artist's Way defines morning pages as 3 full-size pages of stream of consciousness journaling. Basically write 3 full pages each day of whatever is in your mind. So you just let it all out, you don't edit yourself, you don't censor yourself, just write what comes to mind. So really these pages are meant to offload mental clutter. I was reflecting on how these pages help me, and I came up with 3 broad categories. The first one is that morning pages help me to release and moderate my emotions. And this has come in so handy in many different ways. Some of the negative emotions that sometimes pop up for me are anger, frustration, impatience, anxiety. I find my thinking is typically more forward-leaning, so I usually think more about the future than the past, but sometimes I think about things that happened in the past and I feel a twinge of shame or regret. I'll basically start a deep dive into that negative emotion to try to trace back what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, and also what it feels like. I start verbalizing all of that in these long run-on sentences, again, whatever comes to mind. As soon as I put my thoughts to paper, the emotion starts to lift a little. It becomes a little smaller and a little lighter. And as I continue to write and as my mind invariably moves on to different topics, the negative emotions start to subside. They start to go away and be replaced with me thinking about ways that I could have helped the situation and how I could have reacted in the situation differently. Able to get that perspective by pausing and doing the morning pages. So it really helps for negative emotions. It also, interestingly enough, helps moderate my positive emotions. If you know me in real life, you'll know that I can get really, really excited about things. And sometimes when I start expressing that in my morning pages, not that the excitement subsides, but I can start to see other perspectives, and often the happiness, the excitement, all of those positive emotions, they shift to gratitude, which is also very interesting to me. I start thinking about all of the things I'm grateful for in life and how fortunate I am to be in the place I am today. Seeing how the emotion ebbs and flows is extremely, extremely helpful. The second broad category of benefits to morning pages, for me anyway, is that it helps me generate and hone my ideas. I have so many ideas and so many thoughts in my head that they all compete with one another, and I want to do everything, but I don't have the time to do everything, so I have to prioritize. And the morning pages really help with that. It helps me determine what exactly I want to do, what exactly is important to me, and what I want to do right away that's going to yield the most benefit to me in terms of learning about myself, or perhaps in terms of creativity, or perhaps in terms of financial gains. So those are all competing interests in my mind, and I really try to be strategic and thoughtful in how I spend my time. So the morning pages really helps with that. Sometimes I come up with an idea that I think is awesome. I am really excited about it. And as I mentioned previously, I am prone to getting excited about things, sometimes overly excited. Expressing the idea on paper and writing it out starts to give me a little bit of perspective, and I can hone the idea, or perhaps I table it and I set it aside for another day. The third way that the morning pages practice has helped me is to increase my motivation and build momentum. The morning pages practice to me is a productive activity. It's not something that I'm doing strictly for leisure, although there are kind of like leisure benefits to morning pages, but I really view this as a way that I can stay productive. Often in my own life, I've found that the more things I do that I feel are productive, the more productive and motivated I feel. Even the simple act of writing morning pages every day has increased my productivity just because I feel like I have momentum. Once I'm done morning pages, I never really feel like sitting and watching TV or having a nap or grabbing a bite to eat. Instead, I feel like doing things like working on my website, or maybe I'll feel like working on some other personal project, or perhaps I'll do the dishes or do laundry, because often in my morning pages, because I'm so forward thinking, I'm often planning in a section of my morning pages. And to me, that's fine because it's what's in my head at the time. It's the way I think. So I'll write down all of these things that I want to do during the day, and then by the time I'm done morning pages, they're top of mind, I want to do them, and I go ahead and I do them. So the morning pages have really been a great tool for me to increase my motivation and build momentum. So those are kind of the broad categories. I do want to mention though that not every morning pages session is a breakthrough session. I don't always learn something about myself. I don't always have a good write where I'm like generating ideas, conquering emotions, and doing this and that. Sometimes my writes are just meandering thoughts of nothingness. Sometimes I write mumbo jumbo nonsense, but I would say that 80% of the time my morning pages produce like a tangible benefit, something I could name. The more you do the morning pages practice, the more you'll find patterns in what you typically write about. So I talked about writing about my plans for the day a lot. I also find that I usually gravitate towards using morning pages as idea generation, so that second broad category of benefits. But some of you may find that you're using morning pages more for the first category, which is releasing and moderating your emotions, and that's okay too. There is no wrong way to do morning pages. The key is to do them every single day. I've seen so many benefits from these morning pages that it's my solution to everything now. Let's talk about supplies and my morning pages routine. I've been using a basic pad of paper. These are the cheapest ones I can find. They're the Staples yellow pads, and they come in packs of 5. So I purchased a pack and I'm already on my second one. At first I was writing in notebooks that I had, but they were a little bit smaller, and I also found that I didn't want to be quote unquote wasting my notebooks on this practice because I do shred the pages after I fill the front and the back. I tear off 2 sheets and then I use another cardboard backing to write on, just because I prefer the pressure of writing on this type of surface rather than the actual pad itself. I'll use a ballpoint pen. I do like those gel pens and those like fine-tipped markers for other practices, but for the morning pages practice, I've stuck to using ballpoint pens, and I just love it. It's my favorite way to do the morning pages. I also use a highlighter. So what I found was when I was shredding the pages, often I would feel like I was shredding some good ideas. Maybe I had a gem for a blog post I wanted to write, or maybe like a personal essay I wanted to write, and I was just shredding all those ideas. So I started kind of like going through my morning pages and trying to pick out the things that I wanted to remember, or the things I wanted to jot down in a more like permanent place. And I found that 3 pages of single spaced, not the best handwriting, is not easy to go through. It's very hard to find those gems. So what I've been doing is as I'm writing, if I come across something that I want to keep, I'll highlight it, just very quickly highlight it, continue with my practice of writing, and then at the end I will go ahead and transfer those bits of highlighted information to other areas where I might need them. So if I have an idea for my website, I'll put that with that information. If I have an idea for a personal essay, I'll put that with my ponderings, my many ponderings that need to be expanded. If I have a little to-do list on here, I'll migrate that to my planner perhaps. So I'll just go ahead and sort all those bits of information that that I've highlighted, and then I go ahead and I shred the paper once I'm done the front and the back. One thing I wanted to mention that the Artist's Way does advocate is to do this by hand. It will be painful at first. It took me 40 minutes to do morning pages when I first started the practice, and my arm, my hand, and my wrist were so sore even after writing just like half a page to a page. But with the daily practice, my arm muscles got stronger. I started writing faster. 20 minutes is the bare minimum amount of time that I need if my ideas are really flowing and I'm writing really fast. But I've cut down the time pretty significantly, and I wasn't even trying to rush through it. It just naturally happens. Your thoughts tend to flow a bit faster. You don't edit yourself. You don't care as much about typos because this is going straight to the shredder. And I do suggest writing, even though I type mostly everything else. Typing offers a different sort of cadence to this exercise, and I feel like the morning pages really benefit from the cadence afforded to you by handwriting. So I do highly recommend handwriting your morning pages, but if you want to, of course, you can type them out. I've already talked about my messy handwriting. I don't try to make this neat because I'm not going back and reading anything. I'm also much better about typos. So I used to go back and correct spelling mistakes and things like that, and that would slow down the writing, the stream of consciousness. Now, if I make a typo in my writing, I just continue. I don't go back and correct it as much as I want to. I'm trying to train myself not to do that. So I'll just continue writing as quickly as I can, because the thoughts are flowing very quickly, and usually your writing isn't fast enough to keep up with your thoughts. One final note about the morning pages. They are called morning pages, but that doesn't mean you have to do them in the morning. For the first little while, I was doing them in the morning because that's what felt good. But on weekends or on days where hubby's home, or maybe I have something else I need to be doing in the morning, I sometimes don't have that 20 to 30 minute window where I can sit down and write morning pages. So I'll push them into the afternoon and even into the evening. As long as I do them at some point during the day, that is perfectly fine by me. I still try to do them in the morning, but it's okay if I need to push it a little bit later. That is going to be it for my video on morning pages. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know down below if you have a morning pages practice or a journaling practice, journaling of any kind. Perhaps you do bullet journaling, or perhaps you do traditional Dear Diary type journaling, or maybe you do a gratitude journal. The options for journaling are literally endless, and I would love to hear about your practice if you have one. I hope you've been taking some time during the pandemic to self-reflect and to do a little something for yourself. I think it's so important to set aside some time for self-care. I'll be back very soon with another video. Until then, please take care, stay safe, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.